What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the BallGame podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Tom.
I'm Chris.
Today we got a loaded show, whole lot of fantasy football to talk about. Obviously, tonight we have football coming back. By the time you're watching this, the game may or may not be on. Not sure when you're going to be seeing this, but Hall of Fame game is tonight as of this recording. In just about an hour and a half, I believe it starts. It's the Bears versus the Texans, and of course, no starters are playing, as we all expected. But hey, football is back, so we can't really complain. Not only that, the Olympics are getting started. It's been about a week since the Olympics started now, and Team USA, in all accounts, has done solid so far from what I've heard, but nothing spectacular.
I think they're racking up silver medals.
Yeah, I think
they have
we're
an
lacking
insane
golds right
yeah,
now.
we don't have that many golds, but we have a ton of silver medals.
Yeah, I think we're lacking golds.
So we're doing our
Fuck the
thing.
other countries right now, man. Apparently they took swimming from us. I think it was Australia that did it. Those fucking Aussies are stealing.
You see the Turkish guy shooting?
Yes.
He got up there, no gear, no nothing. He just boom, and he was like, "I'm a natural born shooter." Cold.
You
as
know what
ice,
he is?
man.
He's a natural born killer.
Yeah.
He's definitely a paid assassin.
Yeah,
by the
yeah,
way.
something like
there's
that.
There's zero doubt about
Yeah,
that.
look him up.
Good for that guy, though. And
Money's
of
money.
course, all the Olympic athletes, all of you guys, congratulations. Whoever's winning gold, silver, bronze. If you're placing, that's impressive. You're one of the 0.0001% out of athletes out there. And so are the guys that we're going to be ranking today. We're going to do our top 40 running backs and our top 40 wide receivers for fantasy football this upcoming season. Very excited for this episode. Obviously, we were originally breaking it up with divisional previews, but instead we decided to give you a big fantasy episode and then close it all out with our final divisional previews with the AFC and NFC North. So there we go.
You know what we got to start doing? I got to start making a list.
And check
Like
it
Santa
twice.
Claus. Yes, indeed. For the 32-man league. We have to assemble
Ah.
32.
We must
Yeah, it got auto renewed today on Sleeper.
Indeed,
I saw
yes.
that.
We
All my
got to
leagues did.
make sure. I mean, I'll just put it in that chat. I feel like people aren't going to answer a sleeper chat, though. You know what I mean? I'm going to have to text people individually,
Yeah,
like,
for
hey,
sure.
like Shifty Lou. I'm going to have to text
Yeah,
them individually and be like,
I'll
yo.
take the people from my
Yeah.
like, you got to take your.
I'm going to have to text Shifty Lou tonight, like, yo, you trying to do this again? But if any of you guys are interested in the 32-man league, it's free to join. The winner gets a jersey of their choice from us. I'm sure there will be a few spots open. I doubt all 32 people from last year are going to want to run it back.
Doubt it.
I don't know exactly how many spots, but whoever, if you want a spot, comment on this, let us know.
Or hit us up.
And yeah,
Just hit us
slide
up.
in the
Slide in
DMs
the
on
DMs.
socials. On Instagram, probably will answer. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. I enjoyed the draft for the 32-man league last year.
No way we could live stream the whole thing again, bro. That was insane.
What?
Why
That was
not?
That was one of our
so-
best streams.
Why
That,
not?
that was
That
a
was
fun
awesome.
time.
Bro,
I'm
it
not
was
gonna lie.
like fucking 2 a.m. and then after the draft, we did a fast. Amanda was in the chat with her friend from
Oh
school.
my God, we
So we
did do
stayed up
that.
mad late
You're right.
just talking about random
You're
shit.
right.
Yeah,
That was a fun
we'll
time.
pack out the couch.
That was
Yeah.
Never mind. We
Yeah,
should
everyone
pack
will
out
come.
the
Yeah,
couch.
everyone will come.
Yeah, we're still doing that again.
We'll honestly do a rotation. We should bring more people. We'll get.
That was
we'll
one
get
of my
Chuck to
favorite
come.
live streams we ever did.
Ortiz
We have
get
to
in.
live
Yeah,
stream
you're
that.
right,
We
you're
have to live
I was
we
gonna
should
say, like,
stream.
the
Do we
first,
have a
like,
draft
five
that a league that all three of us are drafting in? I don't think
No.
the three of us are in a league
like
together.
legitimate. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say we
Barney
could
League?
like.
No.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I don't think we do.
Interesting. That's crazy.
I really don't think we do, which is wild.
I mean,
'Cause
we can
backed
make
out of
another one.
Goodfellas.
Well, no, because
Make
it's
a
like
BallGame league.
you guys were all doing it like before I got into it,
Yeah.
and then but by the time I got into it, you were all in like a dozen leagues. So I was just
I
being,
don't know. There's some leagues that I like just can't, like Flynn's league.
right.
Ah man, RIP to that league.
I
miss
love
league.
that league. That league's lit.
Oh,
It's
you're staying
cool.
there?
I'm staying there. And
I think Trunks
MP's
dropped it.
No, Trunks is staying, bro.
Oh, my
Trunks is
God.
staying.
If they ever need
Bro,
another
we have a
spot, I gotta
bond that
hop
just
back in.
can't be broken, bro. Bro, when we went to fucking DJ's a few weeks ago, I seen Ronnie Scarbaggio,
No way.
and he's
He's in
the
that?
league, yeah.
He's in the league, yeah. So,
Love Ronnie, bro.
bro, I was at the
He's a fan
bar
of
and
the
I
pod.
was talking to him about fantasy, the pod, the Jets. He was like, if you guys ever talk about the Jets, let me come on the pod.
My
He could
God,
probably
bro.
talk good about
He
those.
Sure he
things.
could,
He
yeah.
loves that
Oh,
shit. He
bro.
loves that shit. Nah, he's a
Mid-season,
good guy.
There's a lot of people that are like out there that like we aren't very close with, but like we're friends with. that I would love to have on the pod. Like, it would be a good time.
Ryan
So,
on the pod would be
like, we-
fucking crazy.
yeah, that'd be funny as hell.
That's insane.
And then Ryan Crescido, shout out to my boy again. But there's
Yeah,
some
shout
people,
out
bro.
to Crescido, bro.
Shout out to Crescido, bro. Man was wrecked on that cruise talking to me about the podcast and fantasy football. I absolutely love it. It's great. But yeah, so
Yeah, I have Flynn's league. I have my 10-man league with like Aunt B and all them. Like, I can't leave that league. That league's fun too. It's my only 10-man league. It's cool being in
Yeah,
it.
I'm in. As of right now, I'm in a 10-man.
wanna do
Unless
a
they get it to 12, but I want to do a keeper too. I was in a league with my cousin last year, and he's trying to. They said they were going to do a keeper, but they haven't renewed it yet. So I want to see. I'm going to see.
the
if they're
only
doing
way I
it, but-
join another league is if we do a keeper league. That's the only way I'll join.
I mean, we could do a ball game keeper league, so we do a actual draft on
No trunks.
the podcast. I mean, we can make it a paid league and like just do it with our friends, but just have a draft with the three of us for the podcast. That isn't a mock draft.
I'm in so many
Oh,
already.
so like a live stream, like action.
Yeah, like an
Yeah.
actual draft.
That'd be dope.
I'm in
like,
so
actual
many
draft.
already. I just found
Maybe
out
like
the
a 25
10-man one I'm in is for
buy-in
100
for
today. I
the
was
first
pissed.
year, like something light, just so we have a draft.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
we
do
could
that.
start
Sure.
with a light buy-in.
I'm sure
for a
Trunk,
keeper.
like
first year.
Trunk says he's in too many leagues. Trunks will do
Trunks
a
will
league
do
for
it.
25.
If he's like, bro,
$25,
25,
Dean, he might say he's in too many leagues. Dean will do a league for 25.
Yeah, I mean that's already 5.
We could probably talk Gallo
I could
into
get
it.
Lav into it for $25. I could talk Lav
Lav.
into it, and Lav would go full
Get
on
Sleazy in there.
sweat for
What's he
the.
doing?
Wait, what?
get Sleazy in there. What
We
you
would get
doing?
O'Sleazy
Yeah,
in
come
there.
on.
We definitely got to get O'Sleazy in there. Get Gallo.
Fuck it.
We'll get Gallo.
Get all the boys. We could do that. That's fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely get something going. All right. So it's time to give away more of our our rankings, guys. So if our friends ever want to know how we feel about some certain fantasy football players, just watch. The
Yeah,
pod.
that's fun. We're gonna be if we draft against each other and knowing each other's how we feel about it.
Just watch the pod. That's really all it takes, and then you know everything about everything we think on fantasy football.
You know who to snipe from me, and I can throw something at a wall when that happens.
Oh man,
Isn't that the worst?
nothing more frustrating than like when you've waited for a player to fall to you and you're right there, and then it's one pick away, and then all of a sudden your boy sitting next to
Yep.
you takes your guy, and you react, and then he laughs in your face.
Bro, you're like, there's no way anyone snipes this guy at 412. Like, there's like, I'm gonna reach on him, but it's gonna be good, and then boom, right
Yeah.
there.
Yep, and it's like
Right
they were
there.
thinking the exact same thing as you.
Yep.
So
Tough.
it's a rough one, man. It's a
Yeah.
real rough one.
And then
No-
it fucks up your whole draft. Like, you gotta.
nothing worse than when you have like 411 and you're like, I'm gonna
Yep.
save this guy for
Yep.
502, and then they snipe him from you, and you're just like, well, I should have fucking took this guy all
Yep.
along. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is what it is.
That's rough.
All right, it's time to give this stuff away. So we'll start off with our running back rankings, and we'll go from there. So we want to go 40 to 36, and then
Well, we're
31.
gonna do the tiers. I'm sure we.
Yeah.
I don't think we're all gonna have the same amount of like number
Right,
of guys
yeah,
in
yeah.
each tiers, but I think we should just do it by tiers, right?
I would
So
agree.
you have the tiers written down.
I have them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what do we start?
So the
with?
bottom tier that I have is tier 5. It's Flyers, and I have of the top 40. I only have 4 guys in there. So basically, just guys that I think are going to finish towards the bottom, but you could just like take a chance on for some depth maybe. From 40 to 37, I have Ty Chandler, Chase Brown, Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford. Nick Chubb, I don't think he's going to start the season. If he starts the season, and I don't know, I don't have a lot of faith that he can, like, everything's against him recovering from this injury and like he's not going to be the old Nick Chubb, that's for sure. But what version can he get back to? It's just so hard to predict.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I kind of split it into 6 because there was just a clear tier break for me.
Yeah, I have
um,
6 tiers too.
I had 6 tiers.
I don't have
because
them
thought
written
there was-
down, but I think we had 6 tiers written in the chat.
Whatever.
Maybe you could
Yeah.
create another tier break if you see one fit. So
Oh,
do you
that
have
is,
6?
it is 6 tiers. I put tier 3 twice.
Oh, perfect. All right, nice.
So that was tier 6. It's Flyers / depth. Yeah. Sorry about that.
All right. I have quite a few in this tier. I want to say 8 names in this tier here in tier 6. So I have Javonte Williams at number 40. I have 39 Nick Chubb, Trey Benson, Ty Chandler, Zach Charbonnet, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, and Jerome Ford. So for the top of this tier, I pretty much had Jerome Ford and Chuba Hubbard, and I looked at those two guys as half-season rentals. Because once the main back gets healthy, they're RB1 on their team, not RB1 overall in fantasy. Their RB1 time will be split at least, I would think, and they won't be as effective. And then from Chase Brown all the way to Trey Benson, these were 4 guys, Chase Brown, Charbonnet, Chandler, and Benson, that I think there will be work, but I'm not really sure that they have value outside of if the starter goes down or something like that. So I think they're cool, they're solid, but unspectacular unless the starter goes down. And then Nick Chubb and Javonte Williams are just flyers, and that's pretty much where I stand with them.
Yeah, so I have 5 guys in this tier. I mean, like you guys all have, these are just handcuffs, just guys that I'm taking a chance on that, given an injury, can really jump up the ranking. So from 40 up, I have Ty Chandler, Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, and Trey Benson. And like I mentioned, I mean, Ty Chandler, I talk about it every chance I get. He's playing behind Aaron Jones, who will miss some time at some point. If it's extended time, you might be looking at the league-winning running back. So I think Ty Chandler, I'm glad Tom, you had him? Or
I had him at 40.
Yeah, I'm glad we all have him in the top 40 backs because he's a guy that needs to be drafted in every single league. Chuba Hubbard, it's kind of the reverse. Chuba Hubbard's going to start as the starter, but there's a chance this injury with Jonathan Brooks, takes more time than people think to recover. He still hasn't stepped onto a practice field yet. It's a torn ACL. We know it's always a ramp-up period with that too. Even when he's back and practicing or cleared to play in games.
Probably will miss a couple games.
Right. And then even when he gets back and is cleared, though, there's going to be a little bit of a ramp-up period, too. So you might be getting like 6 to 8 weeks of Chuba as the starter. And I know they use high draft capital on Jonathan Brooks, but if Chuba Hubbard's doing the thing and they're winning ball games, like it's his job to lose. Agreed. It's his job to lose for this year.
And he was solid last year. He was a decent running back. Obviously for fantasy, it didn't work out on a bad offense, but he
got going towards the end of the year too.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and he had the pedigree coming out of college. He was a baller in college. So one of the best college running backs. So that's your tier 6 as well.
I mean, the guy out of this group though that I'm definitely targeting. I mean, we just talked about it. I just made a trade for him in a dynasty league yesterday. It's Chase Brown. Every report coming out of camp has been that he's handled the majority, if not all, of the starter work with the Bengals this offseason. So we'll kind of see how it goes in the preseason. If those guys play in the preseason, who comes out with the first team offense, because that's kind of the tell-all there. But in the Bengals' first preseason game, if Chase Brown comes out with the first team, I mean, he's probably leaving this tier and jumping up a tier. I'm not going to lie. Him and Zach Moss might switch roles on a lot of people's rankings if we get more evidence that he could be the starter. And I mean, he's just a guy who has more juice than Zach Moss. Zach Moss is solid. He was great in fantasy last year, and he was a guy that up until this point I was targeting in a lot of drafts just because being the RB1 in that offense provides a lot of value. I mean, we see it with Joe Mixon. A lot of people, like, not fantasy-wise, have been saying Joe Mixon's been washed for years, but somehow, some way, he kept producing in fantasy. I mean, I think he was, the RB6 last year in PPR formats, Joe Mixon? So for someone that's washed, if you're getting the volume to be able to be the RB6, like, that's a guy I want. So whether it's Zach Moss, who I'm sure we're going to talk about at some point, or if it's Chase Brown, like, this is the guy for me that I'm targeting out of this tier.
So, real quick, if I were to pick a guy in this tier that I would target, it's Trey Benson for me. I trust the talent out of him coming from college. I liked him as a prospect. So, therefore, I mean, James Conner is almost always guaranteed to miss a few games every season. For those games that he misses, in an explosive offense, you mean to tell me Trey Benson can get you a few RB1 caliber weeks? I think it's totally possible, and that's why I would target Trey Benson.
The thing with Trey Benson, he probably would have been my target if the last week and a half didn't happen for Chase Brown. I'm not going to lie. But the thing that, just being devil's advocate, because he's a guy that I probably would draft in a lot of leagues. But if James Conner misses time, I don't know if he could play well enough to take the job from him. No. So I think the ceiling is a little bit capped. I think some of like Chase Brown,
could get
if he plays
job.
well enough, he could take the whole job. Chuba Hubbard, if he plays well enough, could win the job outright. You know?
I don't know
I
about
think considering the fact that he's starting the season as the guy, like he could win. Again, if they're
It'd
winning,
have to take some substantial performance
I
from
agree.
Chuba. That's the thing.
But I mean, like we just mentioned, he's probably going to get like 6 weeks as the starter at minimum, probably. So
More than likely
I just think he has more of a chance to finish the season as the team's RB1 than a Trey Benson. Trey Benson, in the weeks that James Conner misses, he's going to be a smash start for sure.
So that's how I look at it. Like, for me, I'm not, at this point in the draft, like, I don't think Chase Brown, even if he starts to get majority of I think it'll always be Zach Moss on the goal line, which I think matters no matter what. So I look at Trey Benson for those weeks where it's like, okay, this is like my 4th running back on the roster, more than likely my 4th running back on the roster. Can he just give me a few weeks where I plug him in as an RB2 or a flex spot when James Conner's out and give me 15 points? That's a W to me, especially that late in the draft. So that's how I look at that. But I totally understand the Chase Brown pick because especially even if he's just the receiving back in this offense, there's value to that. So who's your...
For me, I think it's Jerome Ford, and again, just because of the health of Nick Chubb. I mean, this guy was the RB16 last year. He showed that he can, if he's given the chance, he can be a fantasy relevant player. I'm not asking him to be the RB16 again. I'm not even asking him to be like a top 25, but just a guy you can plug in your flex, when he has a good matchup or something like that. He's good in and even if Chubb is there, he's still good in the receiving game. So I think he can get you some work there. I like Jerome Ford.
He was second amongst all running backs in receiving touchdowns last year, Jerome Ford.
I did not know
It's
that.
5 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, I just looked.
I did not know that. My cousin literally just texted me, yo, are we doing the 32-man again? so that's funny. All right. We're up to the next tier now. We all ready for this?
Tier 5. This is running back 3 or solid flex. So I have 37 to 27, so I have quite a few guys in this tier. Starting off at 37, we have Tajay Spears. Then at 36, Zach Charbonnet. Then Jonathan Brooks. Devin Singletary, then Javonte Williams, Chuba Hubbard.
I'm going to cut you off. Talk about the names that some of the names in that 5 that you just spoke about. Instead of giving
instead
10,
of doing the whole tier? Yeah,
Instead of giving 10, I'm going to let you finish after that,
fine.
but I want you to talk about 5.
Yeah, so I'll split it up. So I'll stop it. So it stops there. Chuba Hubbard at 32. Spears, I don't know, because I think he's a good back, but I think Pollard was so much better when he had a decent back to split the workload with. So I think he'll establish himself as will establish himself as the clear-cut better back. So I don't think Tajay is going to be insane. But
he was my 41. He just missed the list for me.
Charbonnet, it's tough because he has talent, but I love Ken Walker. I think he's such a great back, but he's probably going to miss a couple of games too. So a game where Ken Walker's out, Charbonnet's a smash start for sure. Jonathan Brooks, it's all about how much time does he miss, and then if he can take the job from Chuba. I saw a video on TikTok the other day about like this guy was like comparing ACL tears, and he was saying that Jonathan Brooks had like a good tear and had a good recovery time, and he's still young, so he should be pretty much fine.
He's very young.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. So
Singletary, somebody's got to run the ball, right? I mean, it's not going to be fucking Eric Gray or whoever they drafted this year behind him. So,
put respect on Tyrone Tracy, man.
Sure, yeah. So somebody's got to get the ball, and we say volume is king a lot in fantasy football. Javonte at 33, we were talking about it before. I have no idea how to feel about Javonte because there's reports that he could be cut. There's people saying he looks really good in training camp. But if he is the RB1 in a Sean Payton offense, I want that, especially that he's not being, I don't know what his ADP is, but it's not super high.
It's the 9th or 10th round.
Yeah. Chuba, you guys just talked about him a lot. I like him. I think he finished the year well, like you said. And I think if he starts off slow, then they're going to want to ease Jonathan Brooks into the lineup, so that'll just mean more reps for Chuba. And then to round out this tier, I have Jalen Warren at 31, Zeke at 30, Brian Robinson at 29, Tony Pollard at 28, and Gus Edwards at 27. Jalen Warren, I think he has more juice and more explosiveness than Najee, but predicting an Arthur Smith offense is just not something I really want to do. And we know Arthur Smith doesn't like to use the younger, more
Explosive.
tantalizing, explosive running back. He likes the old, washed-up guy that could catch passes. But not saying that about Najee. You'll find out about him in a minute. But yeah, Cordell Patterson will get like
Annoying amounts
4 or 5 carries inside the 5.
Yeah.
Inside the 5. I guarantee it.
Yes.
Zeke, I mean, if he's the goal line back for a high-powered Cowboys offense, I'll take that all day. You know, on a week where they're playing a shit run defense, you're gonna want to put him in your flex if you got no one else. You know,
Yep.
Brian Robinson, another situation where I think he could climb up this list because I just think Austin Eckler's washed. I mean, I think Jaden Daniels being a rookie quarterback and the type of quarterback he is, I think he's gonna want to run the ball quite a bit. So I think that takes away from B-Rob. Pollard I spoke about a little bit. I think with more of a split workload, it'll actually be addition by subtraction. Even though he's getting less work, he'll be better with it. And then Gus Bus, that man scored 10 touchdowns for the Ravens last year. He should be the lead back for the Chargers, and Jim Harbaugh has said time and time again this offseason that he wants to run the ball. So give me the lead back in that offense too.
All aboard the
Gus Bus, baby.
Yeah, shout out our boy from Staten Island, baby.
That really is our boy too. Like we really grew up with him.
Type shit.
He's
definitely not like 6 years older than us. Yeah.
All right. So my tier 5 is from 32 to 25.
You know what's crazy though? Sorry to cut you
No, you're
off.
good.
He was at Tottenville while we were at sea. Like we went to high school down the block from him.
Think about it. We were in
You're
math
17.
class at the same time.
Right? How old is he?
He's 29.
Oh wait, yeah, that's not math.
No, that's not math.
No, we missed it.
There
by
was
a couple
actually a
years.
whole entire high school class probably.
Yeah, you're
between
actually
us.
right. Yeah, I don't know how old I thought Gus Edwards
Yeah,
was, but it
He's
doesn't
not
matter.
young. He's 29.
Damn, Gus Bus.
He's Asian, bro.
Yeah, he's up.
He's
there.
Gus
aging.
Bus's 30th birthday surprise
Gus-
party.
Gus Bus got some mileage on it, man.
Come on the BallGame podcast, Gus Edwards.
It's gonna be a DJ got me.
That would be lit. You got Gus, bro.
It's gonna be at Oprah.
Shout out Malosha.
Shout out
Imagine we
Malosha.
got Gus Bus to come to the freaking game
my
room
God.
for a pod.
Bro. That'd
It'd
be
be lit.
fucking
It'd be
electric.
electric.
That'd be fucking electric. All right. At 32, I feel like I have him ranked way too low, but I just don't know how to feel about this offense, and it's Brian Robinson. At 31, I have Jonathan Brooks. I'm banking on a young, explosive back to come back well from a torn ACL in the second half of the season. At 30, I have Jalen Warren. 29, I have Gus Edwards. 28, Zach Moss. 27, DeAndre Swift. 26, Devin Singletary. And 25, Tony Pollard.
Where'd you have DeAndre Swift?
27.
Oh my gosh, Matt. That's low, bro.
So I don't like
Ooh.
DeAndre Swift, the running back talent. I think an Eagles offensive line and offense made him look better than he actually is, which very much is the case given he had the highest amount of yards before contact in the entire NFL. I think more like around half of his yards, if not a little bit more, were before contact, which is absolutely insane. I had Devin Singletary above him simply because I think the volume will be there. I think there's two capable backs behind Swift in Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert.
yeah,
that
but they just paid him a bag, bro.
I get it, but I don't know. I think he'll be involved, but I don't think he's going to be this lead, clear number one back like everyone else thinks he will be.
Yeah, but he's gonna get. I
I'm
could
avoiding
agree
him.
with that.
I'm avoiding him at all costs.
I
That's
think
just
he's a
me.
guy I'm drafting. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this is a guy who, yeah, I guess it'll be more than a split than a guy like Devin Singletary just by default because the Giants have no one else in their backfield. But I mean, I'd assume DeAndre Swift is probably locked into all the valuable touches. You know, all the 2-minute drill stuff, all the third down work.
Goal line.
He'll get a good amount of it. He might not get every single goal line touch, but for the most part, at least the important receiving work, like DeAndre Swift will be the guy, and that's
ADP's right now 66. So that's what
That's the
middle of the sixth round?
7th round or sixth. It might be 6th round. I
Yeah.
think you're right.
I mean,
Yeah, it's the middle of the 6th.
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
taking him there personally. I avoid DeAndre Swift at all costs.
I mean, to me, this is a guy who could easily see like, I don't know, around like 250 plus touches on a really good offense.
I really just think it's that they're gonna prove that Broshan or Khalil Herbert are more than capable to take some work from him and potentially even more effective than him. Like, I really do think that. I just genuinely do not like the talent of DeAndre Swift. I think he'd be a good third down back, but I don't think he's a guy that you want to give that many touches to. And I think it was decently apparent at points with the Eagles down the stretch of the season. So, as for Zach Moss, he fell a few spots in my rankings. He was a tier above until I heard all about the Chase Brown getting first-team reps. And I don't want to overreact to it because I'm sure Zach Moss will get a bunch of first-team reps too. But knowing that they're going to split, and that's most likely what's going to happen, I had to move him down quite a bit. Gus Edwards, as you said, going to be the goal line back. Jaylen Warren, the talent, he'd probably be in my top 20 if Najee Harris wasn't involved. If Cordero Patterson wasn't involved in the Arthur Smith offense. He's a top 20 talent at the running back position, in my personal opinion. Outside of that, though, I can't predict anything there, so I'm going to keep him at 30. As for Tony Pollard, I think he'll get a lot of the valuable touches, as you were just saying about DeAndre Swift with the Titans, and I'm not really too concerned about Tyjae Spears in this case because I just think Tony Pollard.
he's a guy I was big on Pollard last year, but I didn't get to draft him anywhere, and I was pissed about it. And then obviously he ended up not being nearly as good.
Yep.
But this year, I think as the offseason goes on, I think I want him more and more.
Me too. That's exactly how I feel about him.
Yeah.
I started off like, no, Tony Pollard, disgusting.
Yeah,
I don't want to touch that. And now I'm like, Tony Pollard.
Upgraded offensive
Tony Pollard,
line.
not bad.
You know?
Not bad. I quite like it. I think Tony Pollard will be solid.
All right. So working my way up, I have at 35 Austin Eckler, at 34 Jonathan Brooks, 33 Brian Robinson. So I'm going to talk about two other guys as I move up, but the same thing kind of applies to Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. If one of these guys does establish themselves as a clear guy and gets important touches like we said, they move up. They probably move up a tier. I'm not gonna lie.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a guy like Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson was damn good last year. Like,
bro, the first half of for a while too.
Yeah,
he was RB3.
Before the Commanders really punted the season and collapsed. Like he was up there. He was dogging. So I do. That's why I have him ahead of Eckler. I do think he's in more prime position to be the true lead RB1. But I mean, you bring in a guy like Austin Eckler, he's going to have a clear role, and that is pass catching, and that's arguably the most valuable asset for a fantasy running back. Especially we all play PPR leagues, so it's kind of a tricky.
B-Rob's the goal line.
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky situation. I think B-Rob's a more talented back. I think B-Rob showed me last year that he's more than capable of handling a full workload.
He's a good pass catcher.
Yeah.
What number do you have him at?
I have him at 33.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had him at 32.
Yeah. But again, one of these guys I think will move up as the season goes on.
Yeah.
At 32, I have Ezekiel Elliott. 31, I have Devin Singletary. These guys, I kind of group them together back to back because I think it's very similar situations. Guys who have little to no competition in the running back room. I think Zeke is going to get more goal line work and such like that. But I think Devin Singletary will probably be more involved in the passing game just because of game script and stuff like that for the Giants versus the Cowboys. I think the Giants are going to be losing a lot, so Devin Singletary will get some more work out of the backfield. So that's why I have him ahead. And then to round out this tier, at 30, I have Tyjae Spears. At 29, I have Jaylen Warren. 28, I have Tony Pollard. And 27, I have Gus Edwards. I mentioned I had another pairing that was just like Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. It's Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard. I know I'm a little bit higher on Tyjae Spears than you guys, but that's only for the simple fact of there is a chance that he could win the majority of touches in this backfield, and that's a guy I want to roster. I mean, I have these guys this high thinking that it's probably going to be about as even of a 50-50 split as it could be, but both of these guys, the thing that kind of makes them valuable is they're explosive. They're not Devon Achane explosive, but these are guys who could do a lot of things in limited touches. They don't need 20 to 25 touches to be effective, especially a guy like Tony Pollard. Like you mentioned, Tom, Tony Pollard was most effective when it was a limited when it was a limited workload. So I think both of these guys could be effective with limited touches. That's why I have them in this tier. But if one of the other ones gets hurt or someone just isn't really balling out like that and touches become available, I think if one of these guys commands more touches, I think they can move up. So these are two guys that I don't know if I'm necessarily targeting, but I don't mind taking a flyer on them and having them on my team. But, I mean, the top of this tier, like you mentioned, it's the Gus Bus. He's a guy who should walk into double-digit touchdowns once again. It's as simple as that. They want to run the ball. He's a guy who he'll run that ball. He'll run that rock. He'll get down and dirty, get to the nitty-gritty. So
150.
Yeah, I mean,
every snap.
Yeah, I mean, the Gus Bus, I think I've probably talked about him on the pod at some point, too, throughout the summer. But Gus Bus is a guy that, I mean, I'm targeting Gus Bus.
Sure.
I want to have him on as many teams as possible.
He's like the perfect RB3 or RB4 on a fantasy football team.
Yeah.
Or the RB1, like on my dynasty team.
Christ.
Before we move on, I wanna ask you guys about Brooks. Like where, because there's always a guy or a handful of guys every year that they're gonna start the year injured or behind the guy in front of them, whatever. But at some point they're gonna like second half of the season winners. At what point? Because it's circumstantial. You're not just gonna say like in round so and so I'm gonna take Jonathan Brooks. You're gonna look at your roster and say, this is, okay, I feel comfortable stashing Brooks for a few weeks. What point is that for you? Like, do you draft 3 solid running backs and then,
So I was going to say, like, there are guys ahead of him.
His ADP's 91 on Sleeper right now.
So that would put him in the 8th round, in the middle of the 8th round. So there are guys above him that, for me, I would take him over if I had 3 rock solid running backs. Like, I know I'm getting production out of those 3, so you know what? Screw it. Like, I'm going to take a shot. Maybe I get another RB1 down the stretch of the season. But if I need a 3rd running back by that point that I can rely on, I'm passing on Brooks and I'm taking a guy like Gus Edwards.
Yeah, like for me, I agree. I'd have to get like 3 solid running backs and luck out at receiver. Like one of my higher rated receivers fell to me or something like that. So I was just curious.
No,
the injury thing, it's always tough to, you always see that guy and you're like, damn, but when he comes back, like he's going to be a beast.
If I have a safe team, I'm taking the risk there.
Right, yeah.
So that's how I look at it. You always got to play, like, of course, your board needs to be fluid, bro. Like, it needs to be like, if I have a team that's super simple, like I know I'm locking that starting lineup in every week and I'm good, then I'm going to take a shot on a guy like Jonathan Brooks later in the draft. But that's just where I stand on it.
For sure.
Curious as to how you feel about Jonathan Brooks, like where you would take him and whether you.
I mean, he's kind of. I kind of feel the same way. He's kind of a guy that I probably don't really want to draft.
Yeah, I'm
though.
probably never going to draft him.
I
it
mean,
would have to like a lot of things would have to go right. Right. Yeah.
I mean, like we mentioned, like he should be back at some point, but this is a guy who, as we mentioned, they spent very high draft capital on. So I think they're not really a great team right now, the Carolina Panthers. So I think they want to make sure he's healthy for the long run when they're actually trying to compete. And like we mentioned, I think we all agree that Chuba's more than capable as a bridge running back to start for this year if need be. Like, he's more than capable. They could still win some games with Chuba as the starter at running back. So I just feel like there's no reason for them to fully unleash Jonathan Brooks at any point in this season that would make him that league-winning running back. So I just don't think it's going to happen. So, I mean, if he's really dropping down the board, like, obviously I'll draft him if the value's there, but I'm not going out of my way to get Jonathan Brooks on my team.
Before you jump to your next tier, what you said about Tony Pollard before, I apply that to DeAndre Swift, but with what I think is two capable backs instead of one behind him. So, like how you said that they paid Swift, Pollard got the exact same contract from the Titans, which is where I'm like, that's why I kind of have them like right next to each other, neck and neck, because it's like in the same tier nonetheless, because I know you want to talk about Tyjae Spears, but then you get to Swift and you're talking about Roschon and you're talking about Khalil Herbert.
I don't think Roschon's a good NFL running back. I think Khalil Herbert's decent. Roschon, I mean, he could be decent as a goal line back, I guess, but I mean, he's a guy with really little to no burst, and he really doesn't run as hard as you think a large running back would run. I don't know. He doesn't really move me. Khalil Herbert's cool. I think DeAndre Swift, like, for as much as people don't like him, I think he's clearing away the best back in this in that backfield. I think the Pollard-Spears thing is way more of a debate, personally.
I don't know. I think Roschon and Herbert are better than people think. Not better than Swift, but better than people think. So,
last thing, you asked for the last tier. I know your answer. Who are you targeting most in this tier? You're Gus Edwards. I personally would probably say either Gus or Zeke because of the draft value is there. What about you? Like, is there anyone in this tier you're like, might not be, like, but is there anyone in this tier that you're like, I want this guy on my team?
So I kind of ignored the Dallas backfield entirely. So I don't have Zeke on my list
40?
at all because I don't know what's happening there.
Right.
So I was just like, you know what? When that's figured out, I'll make my changes and stuff. But for now, because I just think Rico Dowdle at this point is the better running back nonetheless too. And I think that Dallas is going to fucking realize that. And it doesn't mean much because I don't know how good Rico Dowdle is. But Zeke is just that bad and that washed that I don't really give a shit about him. Like, he'll probably be the goal line back in a good offense, which whatever, cool. But does he even make the roster at this point? Like, I don't know. So I ignored Zeke entirely. In this tier right here, probably say relative to ADP, Gus Edwards and Devin Singletary.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
all right. So moving on to our next tier here. This is our fourth tier, RB2 or high-end flex. So I'm starting this tier off at 26 with Zach Moss. 25 is Zamir White. 24 is Ramondre Stevenson. And I'll talk about those three real quick, I guess. Zach Moss, I had him a little bit higher, but the Chase Brown stuff, I didn't want to overreact too much to it because it is, the very early in training camp. He was very good last year. But they don't have a lot of money invested into him. So, you could, if Chase Brown plays well in training camp and gets more first-team reps, then, yeah, Zach Moss is going to slide down a little bit. Zamir White and Ramondre are kind of in the same situation, except I don't really know how I feel about Zamir White as a talent. I think Ramondre is a good talent in a terrible situation, which sucks. But Zamir White, he might be a decent talent, still in a really bad situation. So I don't really know how to feel about that. Going into the season, I was going earlier in the offseason, I would be targeting him more, but I don't know because I just don't know what's going to, I don't know how I feel about him as a running back overall. And then next is 23. I have DeAndre Swift. 22, I have Najee Harris. 21 is David Montgomery. 20 is Raheem Mostert. 19 is Aaron Jones. And 18 is James Conner. So at 23 was Swift. I think Swift, not only did they give him a bag, he was the first player signed in free agency. So, they're going to want to include him in this
Great
team.
point.
And rookie quarterbacks love their running backs. They like to throw to their running backs. I know Caleb is, Caleb's Caleb, but, numbers don't lie.
You don't got three great receivers for nothing, though.
Right, but he's still going to, you're still going to throw to the running back once in a while. Najee Harris, it's ugly. It's putrid. You don't want to watch it, but that man is going to get 1,000 yards and about 7 or 8 touchdowns. That's just what he does.
Yep.
And I think with Russ is going to launch the ball down the field, or he's going to check down to the running back. And the offensive line is upgraded, so the running should be better. It's just how much does Jaylen Warren eat into his workload. But I'm still comfortable taking him. Like, I'm not leaving my draft, and no one is leaving their draft going, yes, I got Najee as my RB2. But you're like, here we go again. It's more like that.
But it's respectable,
right? But it's a good. It gets the job done. That's all. And
it's
sometimes,
not pretty, but it gets the job done.
And sometimes that's all you need. I know we like to shoot for upside here, but sometimes you need a safe floor. 21 is Monty. He's still on a really great offense, and he was really good as a running back last season. So even though Gibbs is gonna keep getting better, Monty's not gonna phase out of the offense. He's probably still gonna get a good chunk of the goal line work. Mostert, I know he scored 20 touchdowns last year. I'm not expecting him to do that again, but he was 21. He was so good and so damn efficient in a high-powered offense that he's going to be included again. Now, he does have a career history of injuries. He wasn't too injured last season, thankfully, and I know he bulked up last season, so that probably helped him a ton. But definitely going to be some regression from Mostert, but I still think he's a solid he's definitely a really good back and a good value in fantasy. And then Aaron Jones, I don't know. It's a 29-year-old back that changed teams that usually doesn't go well, right? And Aaron Jones has been an efficiency machine over his career. And I don't know how efficient he's going to be in this offense, but I still think he's going to be the clear lead back, and he's going to get pass catching work. And like I just said, once J.J. McCarthy's probably going to take over eventually. Rookie quarterbacks love their running backs. So I'm not targeting Aaron Jones. I'm probably drafting other guys over him because even some of the guys below him, I think their ceilings are higher. And then James Conner. James Conner is one of my favorite players in the history of fantasy football. That man is like rock solid as they come. He's just such a good player. Might have had the best season of his career last season in terms of
good guy.
Yeah, just the best. Awesome. Love James Conner. I think Kyler Murray it hurts his value a little bit, but I still think he's going to score touchdowns. He's going to get big runs. So loving James Conner.
Did you see his numbers down the stretch of last season?
Unreal. I had him on the team that won a championship. Like he kind of won me a championship.
Carried.
Yeah.
Like hard carried down the stretch of the
I had him, Mostert, and McCaffrey. It was unstoppable.
Yeah, that's
It was unstoppable.
That is insane. Oh my God. All right. I really don't like the fact that I have this number 24 back and this number 17 back in the same tier. But I mean, if there was like another tier, I would have put them in there, but I would have split it up. But I'm not putting this guy up with the other ones either. And I'm not putting the bottom one down with the others either. So here we go. At number 24, I have Zamir White. Simply a volume-based play. I don't know how good he is, but he's the lead back for the Raiders, and I don't see any competition. At 23, it's Najee Harris for all the reasons that Tom just listed, except I'm just not confident to put him higher. Like, I really am not. I don't know what Najee Harris's ceiling looks like, and that's why I'm not comfortable drafting him.
He's as low-end RB2 as a low-end RB2 is going to get. I feel like that's just what he is.
He's just RB2.
Right, yeah.
He's just an RB. He's a middle-of-the-pack RB2.
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
I'm content, but I'm not happy.
Right.
At number 22, I have David Montgomery. I mean, the dude just scores touchdowns for that Detroit offense, and I don't think that'll slow down at any point. 21, Raheem Mostert. It's kind of the same thing. I'd have to expect his touchdowns to get cut in half or at least something like that. That's going to affect your fantasy value quite a bit. Number 20, I have Aaron Jones. I mean, look, if you looked at down the stretch of last season for the Green Bay Packers heading into the playoffs, Aaron Jones was carrying this offense. Like, as good
We have like the same list.
It's very close. I know, it's insane.
This tier is like the exact
same. Or maybe one off, one or two off. But yeah, so I feel like he was so incredibly good down the stretch of last season that some of that will carry into this situation. They will be giving him the ball. Obviously, the quarterback is unproven, whether it's Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. Both are unproven. Aaron Jones is also a great pass-catching back, and it's behind a very good offensive line. At number 19, I have Ramondre Stevenson. I believe in the talent, and I feel like it can only get better this season for the New England Patriots. It can't get worse. So I'm going to trust Ramondre and follow the money in this case as well. Just got a big extension. At number 18, I have James Conner. I would love to put him higher, but I cannot trust James Conner to stay healthy for an entire season. So therefore, I had to leave him at number 18. And at number 17, I have Ken Walker. Just because I think he's really good. I think he's really talented, but the ride with Ken Walker in fantasy football is never a fun one because you have 1 week where he wins you it and the next one that he loses you it. So that's why I have him here.
All right. So this tier, I have 8 guys, I think, 9 guys, something like that. I'll be quick because you guys kind of spoke about all these guys. 26, I have Zach Moss. Like I mentioned earlier, if Chase Brown, comes out with the first team in preseason, Chase Brown takes this spot. Next, I have Raheem Mostert. 24, I have Zamir White. 23, James Conner. 22, Ramondre. 21, Najee. 20, David Montgomery. 19, Aaron Jones. And 18, I guess this is where things get a little spicy. I have Josh Jacobs here at 18.
Okay.
I just think the man is washed. I think it's just that simple. I think he was super inefficient last year, and that was, partially due to the circumstances with Las Vegas, but also I just think he didn't run the ball as well as he did the year prior. And there's the thing about a guy who gets 300 touches always declining rapidly after that. So I think we've seen the best of Josh Jacobs, and it's only going downhill from here. Marshawn Lloyd, I don't think he'll cut into Josh Jacobs' carries too much because he has a fumbling problem, but Shit, if he gets an opportunity and he's good, like that'll definitely. I don't care how much they pay Josh
Just don't
Jacobs.
put the ball
like,
on the floor.
yeah.
Also, AJ Dillon is still on the roster, and Matt LaFleur loves that man. and
Yeah, I
loves-
mean,
loves
Matt
running back by
LaFleur
committee.
for his whole tenure as the Packers coach, given the fact that he had 2 pretty awesome running backs, I guess, but has always used a committee. So
Yeah.
it should be interesting to see how they start the season if Josh Jacobs is just the ultimate bell cow or if those other 2 guys are going to get any work.
He got money.
Yeah, he got paid. He got paid.
Yeah,
paid.
when
He
I
didn't just get
first-
paid like
When I
Swift and
first heard that,
Pollard.
I'm like, I want to draft Josh Jacobs. Like, he's done it. He's been the rushing leader before. He's on a great offense. Like, on paper, it should he
didn't
should
have
be
a
really
training
good.
camp last
Yeah,
year.
on paper
I
he
just
should.
think he's washed. I just think we've seen the best of Josh Jacobs. I might be a little bit too low on him here at RB18, but I
I'm
mean,
not too much higher.
Yeah,
regardless of where I have him ranked, like I'm not drafting him. I'm not drafting him in any
Probably
leagues
not,
or
yeah.
formats. Yeah. So that's that tier.
All right.
Okay.
So out of this tier, is there anyone that you guys are targeting? For me, it was so easily Zach Moss, and again, like the Chase Brown stuff isn't that crazy, but it could turn into like I don't want to draft Zach Moss at all.
No, I think it's already turned into that for me.
I kind of feel like that
okay.
a little bit.
don't.
That's fine.
I don't
But
want to.
I'm gonna keep. I mean, obviously, we don't have our drafts till next month.
Right? Yeah.
So
yeah.
we're gonna find
yeah,
out
if
a
I
hell
was
of a
if, no,
lot
no, if I
more.
was drafting tonight or tomorrow, I would not draft Zach Moss at
I'm
all.
the same way. Yep.
But the guy I want in this, depending on the situation,
Would you take Zach Moss or
go ahead.
would you take Zach Moss or Jalen Warren right now? Like right now, draft is right now. You're on the clock.
I think I still go Moss.
Ah man, I'm probably gonna go Zach Moss too.
I'd go Jalen Warren. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
It's tough for me though. It's close.
That's
I'd
fine.
go Jalen Warren. I think we know Jalen Warren's not gonna be like a bell cow back or
Right.
whatever. We're
Unless
betting
Najee
on
gets hurt.
we're betting on Zach Moss to be that. If Zach Moss isn't that, I don't know how much value he brings
Yeah,
to the
okay.
table. We already know what value Jalen Warren's gonna bring to the table, not as a bell. He's just so much more explosive and could do so much more with limited touches. So
But Moss is pretty much the guaranteed goal line in a great offense. That's something.
right, that's if he's. I mean, yeah, I guess he is.
That's,
That definitely matters.
so he still has value. I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah,
matter
no, he
what.
definitely has value. He definitely has value. I mean, these guys are. Zach Moss is the RB30 off of Sleeper right now, and Jalen Warren's the RB32.
Jeez. Okay. So we're a little bit higher on both.
How about Devin Singletary or Zach Moss right now?
Oh, I'm taking Singletary.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Austin Eckler.
Oh, Zach Moss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
No, he didn't crack top 40.
Zeke.
Oh, Zach Moss.
Yeah.
Zach Moss for sure.
Yeah.
But
All right. What were you saying? Sorry.
who were you?
Out of this tier, I'd probably, because of taking into account ADP, I'd probably take Mostert just because of the guy. Like, that's the guy I would really want just because the guys going around him. Zamir White, Tony Pollard ahead of him, Nick Chubb right behind him, Jonathan Brooks, Javonte Williams. Like, I clearly, far and away, want Mostert more than those guys. So, yeah, Raheem Mostert for me.
If you're getting Mostert as your RB2 at that point in the draft, it's a W.
83.6 is
hero
ADP.
RB guy. If
Yes.
you draft a like stud running back in the first round and then wait a while, like he's the guy.
Yes, I
He's
completely
the
agree.
guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I'd be
think
shocked if he
it's-
doesn't get like. I know double-digit tugs is a lot, but the man had 20
Yeah,
last
21
year.
last
Yeah,
year,
I'd be
yeah.
shocked if he doesn't get double-digit.
Even with a
rushing
healthy HN, I
touchdowns,
think. Yeah.
I think Connor and Ramondre are the 6th round too, maybe around that. I
Connor's
think mid to late.
63 basically. Ramondre's 70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ramondre's a good
James
target.
Conner's-
Ramondre's a great target for zero.
James Conner is the 19th running back off the board on Sleeper right now, and Ramondre is 22nd.
Yeah, I mean, I think both are solid targets as well. But yeah, Mostert in this tier is definitely the guy that I
Yep.
think everyone's going after. So, all
That's
right,
my dog, Raheem
you
Mostert.
kick it off with tier 3.
Raheem Mostert was my. I told everyone to draft for Mostert last year.
got him in the
I advocated
13th
for him.
round in Goodfellas.
Yo,
And
I had. Oh
bro,
my god!
I was trying to
bro.
trade
I don't
him
understand how I don't
all
win a
season.
fantasy league, bro. I always have. Bro, I was telling everyone Mostert last year. I was the fucking leader of the Nico Collins hype train last year. People didn't. When we did our freaking receiver rankings last year, I remember some like it was all 5 of us there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them didn't even have Nico Collins as a top 40 receiver, which was crazy. I don't know who was who, but I was in on Nico Collins, but I just can't win a championship. I have the right strategy, but all right.
just got to keep going.
Keep
So-
the process,
Keep
bro.
running it
the
back.
process.
Yeah, so this tier is high-end RB2s, guys that can also sneak their way into that top 12 and be an RB1. So at 17, I have Ken Walker. At 16, I have DeAndre Swift. At 15, I have Joe Mixon. At 14, I have Alvin Kamara. And at 13, I have Rashad White. Pretty self-explanatory. Ken Walker, I think he has all the talent in the world to be a top 12 running back. It's really just about, can the dude put it all together for a season? Can he stay healthy? Can the pieces around him stay healthy on that Seattle O-line? DeAndre Swift, we mentioned it earlier. I think he's in prime position to, like I said, see all the important touches for what I project to be a really good scoring offense. So I think he's going to get work down in the goal line. I think he's the clear receiving back for this team. And like I just said, I think there's going to be a lot of scoring opportunities. Kind of the same thing for Joe Mixon. I mean, I know they've mentioned that they want it to be a little bit of a split committee with Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce was not good last year by any stretch of the imagination. So it's really Joe Mixon's touches to lose. He's coming off a season where he was the RB6, kind of in a similar situation as he was in Cincinnati, where it's going to be a high-volume passing offense, but when they do run the ball, those are high-volume and really important touches for fantasy. 14, I have Alvin Kamara. We know what Alvin Kamara is. He'll be near the top of the league in receiving yards, receiving targets, and receiving touchdowns from the running back position. If he stays healthy for a full year, this is a guy who could easily be an RB1. And Rashad White, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, Rashad White was the PPR RB4 last year?
Yep.
Something like that.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really is just a shittier Kamara, isn't he?
Yep.
In every way
Just
possible.
the worst Kamara.
Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, honestly, he is Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
the same player.
Yeah, I mean,
Kamara's
Rashad White
washed out
was...
for the most part.
Right, yeah.
They are the same player.
Rashad White was 4th amongst running backs in receptions last year with 69. And he got 78 targets. He had 588 through the air and 4 receiving touchdowns. So
You had Swift where?
16.
That blows my mind. We are very different on him. Almost similar on everybody else, but very different on him. All right. So at number 16, I have Rashad White. At number 15, I have Joe Mixon. 14, I have Josh Jacobs. 13, Devon Achane. 12, Alvin Kamara. And 11, James Cook. Achane was tough for me to rank. I put him here at 13. Simply, like, look, I
really want
understand
to put him at like 4.
I understand that he could be top 5. I really do get it. But a guy his frame simply cannot, and he's already proven it with last year and getting injured in his first season, both before the season even started and during the season, that he can't handle that big of a workload. And he's 185 pounds. He's not large. And I can't fathom him getting more than 175 to 200 touches this season. And is he so efficient that he could just break fantasy? Yeah, I get it. I totally understand that. But I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to put him right in the middle of like the volume and the potential production. I have him at 13. Jacobs, I just think there's going to be enough volume. Mixon's in a great offense, and I think he's just going to get goal line touches, and he'll get enough receptions to keep him relevant in that regard too. And then Rashad White's just going to disgusting his way to a top 15 running back finish probably. But Kamara going to be used because Derek Carr loves to throw to him, and James Cook might be the focal point of the Buffalo Bills offense. So I'd even consider putting him higher than tier 3, but I have him at RB11, and I think that's high enough for now.
Yeah, so starting off my tier 3 is at 17, I have Joe Mixon. CJ Stroud did not throw to his running back last year. Now, is it the chicken or the egg? He has a great pass catching running back now, but there's a lot of mouths to feed on that offense. Right above him at 16, I have Josh Jacobs. Like you said, I think he's going to get the volume in a great offense. I think like I said, on paper, he should be higher than this, but he just did not look nearly as good last year. So 16, I think is fair. At 15, I have Ken Walker. Like you said, Chris, I love the talent of Ken Walker. I like the Seattle Seahawks this year a lot for fantasy football. I think he's an absolute monster, and I could see him working his way into that top 10, but consistency has been an issue for him over his career, so I'll put him here. At 14, I have Rashad White. Nasty, ugly, will get the job done. Not drafting him at all because he's being drafted way higher than that.
Beginning of the 4th?
At 13, yeah, something like that. At 13, I have Isaiah Pacheco. He's just he's just solid, as they call him. is angry at the ground when he runs. But he's the Kansas City Chiefs lead back, and no Jerick McKinnon. He's not on the roster as of right now, so maybe he'll catch more passes. And by the time the season rolls around, he could be even higher than this. At 12, I have Derrick Henry. Gus Edwards scored 10 touchdowns for the Ravens last year. Derrick Henry should do some real damage in this offense, even though Lamar
Might
is
double it and give it to the next
I was
person.
about to say he dead ass could get up to 20 plus.
Yeah, for sure. I just worry about there's a lot of miles on those tires, so it is a little bit of a concern of mine. At 11, I have Devon Achane. I just spoke about him before the pod. I was telling you guys I'm trying to trade for him in Dynasty right now. I love Devon Achane, the talent, and at this time next year, he could be in the tier 1, honestly, as like a guy we could be talking about as a top 3 finish. At 10, I have Kamara. Derek Carr can't throw the ball downfield anymore. He checks down a whole hell of a lot. That Saints offensive line is going to be awful, but I actually think that does more harm than good for Kamara because he'll just catch a bunch of passes. And I don't think there's a lot of competition behind him in the running back spot.
Kendra Miller also injured again.
Yeah,
he will never be healthy.
He will never, ever be healthy. And at 9, I have James Cook. I know it's a bit of a high ceiling for him, but it's a bit of a high spot for him, but focal point in the Bills offense. Guy scored 2 touchdowns last year and finished, I think, in this same spot. So he's definitely going to score more touchdowns, and he's going to catch passes, and he's a hell of a running back. He's a hell of a talent for a Josh Allen-led offense. So give me all of that.
Yeah.
And especially after the OC change, because they ran the ball way better and a lot more. So I'm all in on that.
Okay, so you've been asking the question for every tier. Who are we targeting in this one?
For me, let me see. I mean, there's a couple of guys. I would say the number 1 would be James Cook because I have him really high and he's going at
3-4 turn.
Yeah, 3-4 turn, and I have 12 in one of my drafts, so I would love to take him there if it works out that way. So I'm gonna go James Cook, Kamara probably right behind him, but yeah, I would take James Cook.
I think Kamara is the best bang for your buck.
Yeah,
This is our tier 3.
Yeah,
we're talking
this
about.
is tier 3.
For me,
take Kamara.
it's DeAndre Swift. I mean, I have the biggest gap between where his consensus ranking is compared to my
right. His
ranking
ADP is also so much lower than the
I
rest
mean,
of the
he's
guys.
going as CRB21, and I have
Totally
him as
makes sense.
CRB16.
Right,
So
yeah.
he's a guy that, if I'm getting him that late, I mean, he's the 59th player off boards right now.
What is Cook going at in terms of? It doesn't show me RB like
I
position.
looked up like
okay,
80.
okay.
I looked up on Fantasy Pros has like an ADP tab where they have everything like overall, like with the averages, and then they have like each platform.
What's Kamara?
James Cook is the RB14 on Sleeper, RB12 on ESPN.
11, cool.
Kamara is 16 on Sleeper, 14 on ESPN.
There it is. Yeah, I have him as my RB12. So yeah, that makes the most sense.
So yeah, DeAndre Swift for me probably out of this tier.
Okay, all right. Let's head on over to tier 2. Tom, get us started.
Alrighty, tier 2. This is just finishing as an RB1, like a high end RB1. At 8, I have Travis Etienne. He finished at RB3 last year. I just think the guys ahead of him are in better situations, and this tier you could see anyone finishing anywhere really for me. Jonathan Taylor is at 7 for me. I know Anthony Richardson should eat into that rushing attack, but I think by having Anthony Richardson there, a much bigger upgrade at quarterback, Jonathan Taylor's going to score more touchdowns. So give me that for sure. At 6, I have Kyron Williams. It's hard to repeat success, and some people are worried about this Blake Corum eating to the workload. I don't think it happens.
He'll give him a rest.
I think if anything's going to do it, it's just the injuries for Kyron Williams. He had a tough time last year, but this is a guy who put up points like a madman last season when he was in the game. So love me some Kyron Williams. At 5, I have Jahmyr Gibbs. He's the lead back on what might be the best offense in football. And he would be way higher than this if David Montgomery wasn't on the roster, but he is. So, and at 4, I have Saquon Barkley. Some people might be worried about Jalen Hurts eating into his rushing game, but like you said before, DeAndre Swift was getting 3 yards before anybody touched him. So you give that to Saquon Barkley. I think we said that the other day on the pod too. You give that to Saquon Barkley. I don't even want to know what's going to happen. We could be talking to this guy could be getting 20 touchdowns this year, So.
I mean, shit, I could get 3 yards behind the Eagles.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yo, Tom, what's your email at? Like
Gmail.
I'm gonna email you the ADPs.
Yeah, I'm struggling to find it,
I'm
so I
not
appreciate it.
logged into iMessage on this computer,
Oh.
so I'll just slide into that email real quick.
All right, so I'll start off here.
So I have slid in there, bro.
I'm here at number 10. This is the start of my tier 2. I have at number 10 Derrick Henry. At number 9, I have Isaiah Pacheco. At number 8, Travis Etienne. Number 7, Kyron Williams. Number 6, Jahmyr Gibbs. And number 5, Jonathan Taylor. For me, Derrick Henry could be even higher. There's no pass catching upside really here because the Ravens don't really pass to the back, and Derrick Henry isn't much of a pass catcher in general. But the guy's probably going to score between 15 and 20 touchdowns, if not even more. So he's easily a top 10 lock for me. Pacheco, now that McKinnon is gone, I think there's going to be more passing game work, which is awesome, given that he's already a talented back, gets in the end zone in a great offense, and he's super efficient. Travis Etienne, the focal point pretty much of this Jaguars offense, should be even better this year, but he was inconsistent at points. And I'm just going to play it safe here. I'm going to rank him as RB8. Kyron Williams in a phenomenal offense. And as the clear lead back, I think he continues to impress. It's just will injuries hold him back because he seems to always get hurt. Number 6, Jahmyr Gibbs. You mentioned it perfectly. If there was no such thing as David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs would probably be in my top 5 very clearly in tier 1.
Yeah.
But he's here behind Jonathan Taylor, whom I think is going to have a phenomenal bounce back season. Was suspended to start last season or held out. I don't remember which one it was. But regardless, the man missed the beginning stages of the last season, hence why the Zach Moss hype is where it is. And I think him coming back with a healthy Anthony Richardson, a very good offensive line, and he should be good to go. So I'm expecting efficient version of Jonathan Taylor to be all the way back in an explosive offense.
At number what you have, JT?
5.
Okay. Yeah, this is pretty much all like interchangeable for me.
Yeah.
It's tough. Well, maybe not, but
Okay. So this is my tier 2. So I have English. I have guys who I think are probably locks to be top 12 running backs, but I don't think they really have a chance to be the RB1 overall.
Yeah.
So working my way down. At number 12, I have Devon Achane. You guys touched on it. He could make me eat my words and be the RB1 overall. That's how efficient and explosive this guy is. I mean, if the dude plays a full season, the sky's really the limit. I mean, he gets the comparisons to Chris Johnson, and honestly, rightfully so. He's just that explosive. He averaged, like 8 yards per carry last year? I mean, that shit's just unheard of.
he has more 40-yard runs than Reggie Bush does in his entire career.
Jesus Christ.
It's pretty nuts. That's pretty nuts.
Crazy. I just had to say that before it left my head.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a guy who could definitely make me eat my words. I fear that Raheem Mostert's still going to be super heavily involved. I fear that they drafted Jalen Wright to use him. I don't know if that was just an insurance pick.
I don't think he's a lock for top 12.
Who? Devon
Achane.
I think he is. I
had
think
him outside.
I mean, he was the top 12 back last year, wasn't he? And I mean, he started the season barely playing, and then he missed like half the year.
He was the RB24 last year overall, but he only played 11 games.
Okay. Okay.
He played 11 games, and I'll tell you right now,
like 3 of them,
he missed
he
a
didn't
couple.
really
right,
play.
he only played over half the snaps in 4 of those games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't expect him to play more than half the snaps again.
I think this is a guy who the volume's gonna go. He was too I know ideally he's a guy who you don't want to give a lot of volume to and just let the efficiency do the work, but he's a guy who he was so insanely efficient last year that the volume's gonna go up. So I think that alone, I'm gonna assume he's gonna play the full year just because he's the running back for my team that I root for and hope wins the Super Bowl. So I'm not gonna hope one of my guys or predict one of my guys to get hurt. So I mean, I think if he's fully healthy for the year, it really doesn't matter how much work he gets. If he plays even if he misses like 3 games, I really do think he's just so efficient and explosive. I mean, he's a walking 1-play touchdown no matter where you are.
Right, he's not going to average like 7 or 8 yards a carry, but if he averages 4.5 around there, like that's still really good. But it's 4 yards a carry.
No, he has to average 5.5
yards a carry.
He has to average 5.5 or more. Because I can't bank on Devon Achane being a good fantasy back.
I think
with 4.5 yards per carry.
He'll still be a good fantasy back with 4.5 yards per carry. I don't know if he could be an RB1 with only 4.5 yards per carry. I think if like the efficiency drops that much, I think he's like more of a low end RB2.
But then you
which
realize,
is still fine, but the draft position you kind of
when the when the ball gets in his hands, it feels like no one knows what to do about it. Like so.
No,
he
Yeah, I
It
don't
really
think
looks like
averaging
that,
only
yeah.
4.5
Right.
yards per carry is in the cards for him. I
Right,
think
yeah,
it
yeah.
will be
I think it goes to
5.5
6.
plus. Yeah.
I think it goes to
Yeah,
6.
I think it'll drop from 8, but I don't think it'll drop below 5. I
Right.
don't think.
Yeah, yeah,
I
So,
agree.
again, this is a guy who, if he's there the whole time, he should be a lock top 12. Derrick Henry, you guys talked about it. He's going to double Gus Edwards' touchdowns. I mean, we saw what Mostert did scoring 20 touchdowns last year. If Derrick Henry could even get close to like 14 or 15, he's a guy who should be a lock to be top 12. James Cook is a guy who I think is being severely underrated in fantasy. And, I mean, maybe not severely, but he's going as the RB14 right now.
We all
I
have
think,
him really high.
I think he
I'm at
should,
11.
I think he should be a lock top 10 back. I feel low on him having him at 10. I mean, let me just pull up stats so I have them. Oh,
I
man.
just can't put him above any of the guys that I have
I can.
above him.
The real thing that entices me about James Cook is just the fact that he only scored, 2 rushing touchdowns? He scored 4 rushing touchdowns. No.
2.
No, 2.
Yeah.
He scored 2 rushing touchdowns and 4 receiving touchdowns last year. I just have to assume, given the fact that its quarterback scored 15 rushing touchdowns, like there's going to be a shift of power there just by default. I know James Cook isn't really the ideal goal line back, but he gets enough work to where like some of those long runs that he breaks off for 20, 25 yards, like he won't get tackled and he'll be the one punching them in. So I think just off that alone, I mean, this was a dude who was the RB12 last year. He got 230 plus carries and 50 plus targets. Those are, I mean, a guy who gets 225 plus touches on the ground and 50 plus targets, like if you're getting that 270 plus opportunity share, like those are guys I want to draft. He was the RB12 last year, only scoring 2 rushing touchdowns.
Right.
So I think he's a lock top 10. And then at 9, I have Kyron Williams. You touched on Kyron. You touched Kyron. He was phenomenal last year, and there's really no reason to back off of that. Isaiah Pacheco, it's the same thing. Jahmyr Gibbs, it's the same thing. I'd love to put Jahmyr Gibbs in tier 1,
too.
but David Montgomery exists. I just can't do it.
So you have 2 guys here in tier 1 that I have in tier 2. Okay. Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I have 6 guys in tier 1.
Yeah, I only have 4.
I have 3.
I have 4, yeah.
Yeah.
I just, because I know who they are. It's Travis Etienne and Jonathan Taylor. I don't see a world where either one of them finishes RB1.
I don't see it either.
I don't see a
Well, we'll
single,
get
unless
into
they were
that.
injured. Yeah, I mean, we might as well jump into it
Yeah.
now.
So I'll start because mine is the most predictable. 3 is Breece Hall, 2 is Bijan Robinson, 1 is Christian McCaffrey. Nothing really to say about them. At first, I was like trying to be cute and put Bijan at 1, and then I just realized like McCaffrey just is better in every human facet possible.
Don't agree. I think if anyone is as athletically gifted at the running back position,
No,
it is
I don't
Bijan.
mean like I don't mean like I just think like you take Bijan's situation and then you look at McCaffrey's situation and like McCaffrey's just on a better team.
Yeah.
He gets more work. Like it's just I can't dethrone
So
McCaffrey.
here's the thing: like Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson, now the OC, the head coach, came from Los Angeles.
Right.
What did we just watch Kyron Williams do?
Yeah.
Bijan is on a whole nother world of
Right.
talent than
Yeah, no,
Kyron Williams.
Bijan's Kyron on juice.
I didn't put Bijan at number 1 either, but that's also just because Christian McCaffrey always
No, it's
finishes
like-
number 1.
It's not like I was listening to the fantasy footballers the other day and someone asked them, "Can I take Bijan Robinson 101?" And they were like, "Yeah, you absolutely can." And I don't think it's like the worst thing. I don't, but I can't do it. I have the first pick in one of my drafts and I'm not taking.
I watched
Bijan
that
Robinson.
exact episode, and
Yeah.
they said that the only guy that they think has the opportunity to beat Christian McCaffrey, if all were healthy,
Yeah.
for 17 games, is Bijan Robinson, the
Yeah.
only back. And I completely agree with them.
I
So real quick, I'll just do this. At number 4, I have Breece Hall. That's somewhat surprising. He's not a consensus top 3 for me. At number 3, I have a man who has now scarred me, Saquon Barkley. At number 2, I have Bijan. At number 1, I have Christian McCaffrey. I just think Saquon's about to have the best season of his career, go absolutely nuts, and be the player that we always thought he could be, even better than he was in his best season.
I wanted to put him in this tier. I find it hard to believe that a guy with a really good rushing quarterback is going to finish RB1.
I get
you
that,
know?
but he's different.
Like I said before, I could see him, like, if he scores 20 touchdowns, yeah, he's going to be the RB1, you know? Like,
it wasn't the fact that Swift didn't get carries inside the 10 and inside the 5. He just couldn't finish them.
Right.
Hence why you had Jalen Hurts having to
push
do the tush push.
yeah.
Saquon's 20 pounds heavier than DeAndre Swift. I'm promising you there are going to be plenty of those touchdowns that aren't going to Jalen Hurts anymore, and instead they know they could turn around and hand it to this dude who's 230 and has quads the size of my entire upper body. So, hence why I think, like, he can honestly end up with, like, 14 rushing touchdowns and still have, like, 50 receptions. And the Eagles don't really throw to backs, but
when you have Saquon, again, like I said with Stroud, it's the chicken or the egg kind of. Like,
yes, exactly. So that's why I have him at number 3.
Tier 1, buddy.
Chris.
Hold on, I'm just doing some crazy shit right now, some crazy charting.
Crazy charting?
No, like, actually. You keep talking about those guys.
So, Brees Hall, we didn't really talk about a lot.
Whoa. What is this? This is impressive. Did you do this? You didn't make this, did you?
Not this part, but this part here.
Okay.
Brees Hall, first of all, Madden made him an 84 overall, I think, Brees Hall.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I don't know.
Madden's ratings this year, by the way.
Nick Chubb's a 96.
Absolutely. Look, first of all, healthy Nick Chubb is well deserving of that 96.
Off 2 torn ACLs.
But they're looking at the last version of Nick Chubb that we just saw. So
I think a 92 would have been
you
reasonable.
You got to nerf him a little bit.
96 is.
But
Brees Hall an 84. Bijan, I think, was an 82.
They did a absolutely horrendous job, as per usual, of ranking guys, because what they always do is go off of old name value.
Right. They have
Joe Mixon has no business being a 91.
They're saying Tony Pollard's a better running back than Brees Hall.
It's disgustingly bad, bro. It's horrendous. Like, it gets me aggravated, and that's why I've refused. I will not play Madden this year. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I'm going to buy Madden this year.
The franchise mode looks fucking
NCAA 25 has stolen my heart.
Right.
And I don't plan on switching off.
Right.
Because Dynasty mode is so in-depth that I could just keep playing it, bro. I don't give a fuck.
All right, I'm ready.
Go for it.
So at number 6, I have Jonathan Taylor. At number 5, I have Saquon Barkley. At number 4, I have Travis Etienne. At number 3, I have Brees Hall. At number 2, I have Mr. Bijan Robinson. And number 1, I have Christian McCaffrey. I would have loved to put Bijan number 1. I really want to deep down in my heart. But
me too.
I did it last year, and I was a silly little goose for that. So I'm not going to do it again. Bijan and Brees, I do think they're pretty interchangeable. I think if anyone is really going to challenge CMC for that number 1 spot, it's really one of those 2 guys. But I do think the 3 guys at the end of this have a real chance. Jonathan Taylor, you mentioned it. The Colts offense should be booming this year. He is a full offseason, no offseason drama for him. He's paid. He's taken care of. We could see the best season of Jonathan Taylor's career. Saquon Barkley kind of in the same boat. This is a guy who we know the talent's there. He's one of the more explosive players in the league, and he's in the best situation he's ever been in, kind of similar to Jonathan Taylor. The O-line's there, the elite quarterback's there, the scoring opportunities will be there. We know what Saquon could do as a receiver out of the backfield, so I think Saquon's in prime contention to be the RB1 overall. Travis Etienne is the guy I want to talk about, and that's the guy who I was making this crazy chart for. So just Travis Etienne last year was the RB3 in PPR formats. He had 267 carries. He went for only 1,000 yards. He had 11 touchdowns.
So inefficient.
He had 73 targets and 58 receptions with only 1 touchdown through the air. I think Travis Etienne's efficiency is going to improve just by default. I just think it was a dumpster fire of a season for Jacksonville last year, and I just think everyone involved is going to be better. Prayers for a healthy Christian Kirk season, because that's kind of when shit went off the rail for them, when Christian Kirk got hurt. But there's only been 17 running backs in the NFL since 2010 to get the 260-plus carries and 70-plus targets in a season, and they all typically finish as pretty good running backs. I mean, you have some outliers here, like Ray Rice in 2010, because he only had 5 touchdowns on the ground, but if these guys are seeing the double-digit rushing touchdowns, they're typically going to give you that 170 to 200 range of fantasy points for the season, which is really good. You have the top dogs like a Christian McCaffrey or David Johnson who are pushing 225 plus.
This is not PPR. It can't be, because they're scoring in PPR like 320, 330 from McCaff. Swear to God, this can't be PPR.
Okay. So it's rushing yards times 0.01 plus receiving yards times 0.01
Yeah.
plus
Definitely just didn't account for the receptions, I'm assuming.
plus receptions plus maybe let's go like this. Hold on.
Just bear with us for a minute
Yeah.
here.
No, that didn't fix it.
Oh no.
No, everything's here, bro.
I
Plus
assure you,
rushing touchdowns times 6 plus receiving touchdowns times 6.
because I could show.
What else is in a fantasy equation for points?
You have touchdowns, receptions.
I have
receiving
rushing yards times 0.01, right? It's
Yeah,
0.01 per rushing yard. Okay. Rushing yards times 0.01, receiving yards times 0.01. Let me just add more parentheses. It's always the parentheses, bro.
It does get you. Let's see.
Plus rushing touchdowns times 6, plus
Yes.
receiving touchdowns times 6.
Yep.
Because I'll pull up McCaff's finish from last season with how many points he had. Because it
This
it is a hell of a lot more than that, I could assure you.
how, though? What am I doing
It's
wrong?
I don't know, that's-
391.3
Yeah,
for in
that's
full
what I'm
PPR.
saying.
What am I missing, though?
I don't know. But he had,
how many
he was
points did
close to
McCaffrey? How
400.
many points does it say McCaffrey had?
In 2019, this is 2019 season.
I have it here.
253. I know that can't be right.
It's standard. He had 470 in PPR.
Yes.
But what am I
There you go.
missing, though?
412 in it.
Jesus.
470 points in
What in the world? He had 15
he had
rushing
19
touchdowns,
touchdowns.
1,400 rushing yards, had 116. He broke
Yeah.
fantasy.
Yeah, like I said, at first I had Bijan over him, and then I realized, like, again, I have the first pick in one of my drafts, and I'm not even considering
Bro,
taking Bijan.
I want to just look.
I'd
at
rather
his-
be wrong on McCaffrey.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna read.
Let's just get some Christian McCaffrey praise real quick.
I'm gonna read his 2019 game logs for fantasy
Oh my
points.
god.
42.9, 7.3, 27.8, 33.9, 47.7, 21.7, 27.5, 37.6,
Is it-
25.1, 30.1, 34.3, a measly
Yo, is it
17.2.
0.1 points per yard or 0.01 points?
No, it's
No, 10 yards is a point.
0.1 because 10 yards is a point.
So that's my
Oh, that's what it
mistake.
is.
Oh, you put
I keep
0.01?
saying 0.01, yeah. I kind of figured that was my mistake, but I kept saying it and you guys weren't correcting me. Hold the phone.
Yeah, 24.5, 37.5, 32.3, and 22.8. He had two games
Christ.
under 20 and one game less than 17. And he had 2 40 bombs and 8 games with more than 30 points. He broke fantasy football. And keep in mind, this was during the 16-game season.
Yeah, I'm looking up his I was looking up his ADP, but it was 2 on overall.
That's fucking broken, Christian McCaffrey. That's broken. That doesn't even make sense.
Man, would you believe that? Oh no, because I was gonna say the first 15 picks were all running backs, but I was on running back.
The ways things have changed.
Oh no, it's this year. Well,
But
Now I have to.
I was gonna say, I feel like at some point we gotta move.
Yeah,
on
you
from
guys can
Travis
do
do what
Etienne.
you guys got to do. I gotta.
Travis Etienne over here is getting a lot of screen time.
Yeah, I mean, basically though, Travis Etienne is going to get an insane amount of work that typically is needed for an RB1. He's going to get similar work to all of those guys in that
Yeah.
tier. I mean, it's a very prestigious group of guys that get that much work. So given that he's going to get the same amount of work as those guys, I think he has a legitimate chance to be the RB1 overall. And he's the guy that if I take a wide receiver in round 1, I want Travis Etienne to be my running back 1 every single time. I mean, he's going in the 3rd round of drafts right now. If I could start my team with 2 receivers,
He's mid-second, yeah.
Middle second on sleeper.
I have it courtesy of
Yeah,
your email.
he's middle of second on sleeper.
Oh, fuck no, I don't.
Because
Yeah,
I
17. Yeah, now he's mid-second.
yeah. Which
Okay,
still
if
not
I
a
could
bad
start
spot.
you guys are always correcting me, man.
What do you want me to do?
Let me be
Let
wrong.
you provide wrong
I'm gonna
information?
freaking correct you
I'm not
guys.
gonna do. Why would I let you provide wrong information, Christopher? You, come on, man. We want you to be more informed, not less informed. I don't want.
Yeah,
you
we
to
don't
make-
want you to not take Travis Etienne in the second round because you think you can get him in the third. You know,
It's just
it'd
a
be
mistake.
awful. It'd be awful.
Just be a mistake.
Well,
I'm
no,
trying
I
to
mean,
help
if
my
I have
friend.
the draft board in front of me, I'm sure
Right.
I'll know. But
I
right
have-
now, I have Google Sheets in front of me.
I have one. Like I said, I have one in my draft. I'm thinking like if I start the draft, McCaffrey, HN, Henry, like that could just break fantasy this year.
Yeah, but
it's so
that
risky.
could also make you fucking.
No, I'm
suck.
definitely not going to do it, but it's
What
so
I would
tempting.
do is probably go hero RB and just take McCaff and then spam receivers.
You'd think, but the
the
receivers,
receivers suck.
are not.
It's not good.
No,
It's
it's
not good. So you know what? We're talking about receivers now. Why don't we shift gears?
Sure.
Why don't we shift gears to our top 40
No.
wide receivers?
Nah. We're going to take a break before we go into the top 40 wide
Well, yeah,
receivers.
yeah,
I need a minute to decompress. So you guys are going to see some type of ad read or something right now, honestly. I might put like an underdog clip here or something, but we're taking a break. So before we take that break, running backs who have met this criteria, the lowest they had was 265 PPR points in a season. So if that's the floor for Travis Etienne, I'm drafting him. And again, it's only 17 guys who have done this. Travis Etienne is at the bottom of this list. He was the 15th guy, but there's room for improvement. Like I said, Jacksonville was a dumpster fire last year.
You said
So
265 is the lowest, right?
265 points
That would place him as RB6
from last year. Exactly.
That's the lowest.
Right. That's his floor. That's
Yep.
what I'm saying. That's the guy's floor.
So that's
Yeah, man. When you put it like
touchdown.
that,
Peyton Hillis is on that.
Yeah, it's 2010 season.
Holy shit.
It's what
When
got
he
him on
made
the
the
Madden
cover of
cover.
Madden.
Yeah.
Wow.
wowzers.
He had
How many points?
304 fantasy points that season. Yeah, we have some Lev Bell on here, David Johnson, obviously, Arian Foster,
David.
Ray Rice up here twice, some Melvin Gordon. Najee Harris is second year. 2021 was Najee's rookie year or second year?
Second season.
Najee Harris is second year.
Wait.
No, his rookie year was his
No,
year
that might have been his rookie
He
year.
had washed up Big Ben.
Yeah, because
I remember,
Ben threw him like 100 passes.
bro. I remember he had 19 targets in a game
That's fucking.
because I had him.
It's insane. Najee's rookie season in fantasy was great.
He had 94 targets that year.
I'll ask you this because obviously
Yeah.
he believes that ETN and Jonathan Taylor can finish as RB1. I don't see a world where they finish as RB1 unless the top two get hurt.
Yeah, I don't either. But I admire your optimism. I said the same thing about
I mean,
Saquon as far as Taylor.
McCaffrey, realistically, McCaffrey should be in a tier by himself.
Right.
And Bijan.
I don't think so.
I do.
I don't think Bijan showed enough last year. It's a situation that the reports all say that he's gonna be the guy and stuff like that, but we don't know.
I mean, it's probably just coach talk. But
I mean, if we really want to get technical with the tiers, I'd probably have McCaffrey in a tier of his own, then Bijan and Breece Hall in a tier together, and then the other guys in a different tier. I do think that Bijan and Breece Hall have the best chance to dethrone
Right.
McCaffrey, but I don't think they're the way we did the tiers. I don't think they're a whole tier above the
Like I
Travis
said-
Etiennes and Saquons of the world.
like I said, with the first pick, I'm not considering taking another running back other than Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I would
not-
sit there and think about taking Bijan and not take Bijan.
Right. I would, because even I would rather
take
be.
McCaffrey and be wrong.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
go
I'd rather
for
be
it.
wrong on
Beat yourself
McCaffrey.
up. Yeah. I agree.
Than
I
not
agree.
take him and be wrong.
I do
with
think
that.
he's going to get dethroned this year. I do think.
It's just so
Like I
hard
said,
to be the
these-
number one player
these-
overall.
Yeah, and I mean these six, the 6 guys that I have in my first tier, I really do I'll go to war for this dude, Travis Etienne. I really think he has a legitimate shot to be the RB1 overall. I just think
Like to put a bet since you have ETN above Saquon, right? Would you like to go Saquon versus ETN?
probably not. I just said I have those 3 guys, Travis, Saquon, and JT, all in the same
That's
tier.
the only reason
I don't really want to.
I have Saquon a tier above, very significantly above ETN, and I think he could finish his RB1 this season, which is why I'm just so confident in that.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's do $10.
Okay.
$10.
$10 Saquon.
Gentleman's
versus
bet. A little gentleman's bet, yeah.
Trap. Saquon versus Trap.
All right.
So after a short break, we decided, fuck this.
So after
After some
conversation,
serious consideration,
after a
definitely
further
wasn't
review,
a 30-second deliberation.
we saw that we've been recording for an hour and a half. Saw that the receiver list is even harder to ponder upon. And we decided there's not a good chance that we're going to go through receivers today. So we're just going to cut it off at running backs. Obviously, as I said, about an hour and a half long podcast so far. So if we did receivers, it'd take a whole nother 2 hours. So we're going to save that one for next week on Thursday as well. We'll do the divisional recap on Tuesday, do wide receivers on Thursday because trust me, those 40 wide receivers are very difficult.
It's even
And if
harder.
you thought running backs take a while, all 40 of those receivers should be spoken about for quite a while. So, yeah, go ahead and it's my receiver
saw a
list
guy,
over there.
yeah, I'm
Oh
curious
shit,
about
you guys might be it might be a spoiler. We don't want to spoil that. But yeah. So again, sorry guys, but we also have TikToks to record too. So speaking of, go follow us on that platform. But all right, thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow us on all of our socials. Cobb a BallGame 1K hoodie. Do all that good stuff. Please, like I said, follow us on TikTok. We are so close to 10K, and 10K is huge. You have no idea. So, all right, let's go Team USA. Football's back.
Yeah.
And with that,
Ball game.
Ball game.